Isn't it Bruce Almighty when he goes,
Yes,
ow,
yes, yes,
ow,
yes.
ow, ow,
Yes,
ow,
yes, yes,
ow, ow, ow. Like, what? Farting! And he's like saying all those funny things.
It's mid-August 2021. Angie and Joe are back and ready to put together another market report. It's hot outside, but so is the real estate market.
That's right. Not cooling off.
Let's check it out. All right, so as always, we're going to go over some key statistics about the real estate market, beginning with, so just to set the stage, we're going homes 350 and above that are single family properties. So we're omitting some stats. If you need specific stats around condos, townhomes, vacant land, commercial properties, things like that, that's not a part of this. We can get it to you. But for single family homes, 350 or higher, the current average of those is 450,000.
Crazy.
Which obviously, if we omit the lower priced ones, like if I go all price ranges, then we're looking at a median price of 360. So if you look somewhere, you'll see the median home price of 360,000. Let's go year over year. We're looking at a 14.4% appreciation year over year for single family properties of all price range. If we look just 350 or higher, there was only, uniquely, there was only a 3.4% year over year growth in that same median price. So if you take the average of homes 350 and higher, it's about 3.5% they've gone up. I think what you'd see is a lot of the homes have gone from the lower price range and jumped into the higher price range, so they're not going to help that statistic as much. But for all price ranges, you're looking at a 14.5% year over year growth. So Ange, what does that mean to the average homeowner that owns a $250,000 house last year? It's now worth $280,000. If somebody owns on average a $600,000 house, 14% of that is going to be $90,000. So their house is now worth $700,000. That's in the last 12 months. This isn't pre-COVID to now. This is during COVID. Their house has gone up 14.5%.
Yeah, it's amazing. So what I'm seeing a lot of is those folks that bought that house at 250 are now like, wow, I can sell my house, you know, for 280, take that $30,000, compete in the market, and get myself a bigger next step home.
Right.
That's a lot of what we're seeing right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's look at months supply. So for as far as months supply, it's still downward trending. This time last year, from this time last year till now, we're down 43%. So if I go August of 2020, there was 2.9%. Now we're down to 1.7%. So we've lost 43% of our supply. We're down to 1.7 months. And as always, what that means is if no one lists their house for the next month and a half, we will be at zero in a month and a half. So the laws of supply and demand do rely on continued supply into the market. Month supply is cool to talk about, but let's talk about what that actually looks like. Currently, there are 4,825 homes for sale in all price ranges, single family homes. This time last year, August of 2020, there was 7,700.
Wow.
So inventory is way down.
Yeah, that's,
And this doesn't take into account new homes. This is just resale.
wow, that's crazy. I'm looking at what this kind, I think of the folks last year that were like, I'm gonna wait
it out and see what happens.
Yeah, the
Right.
interest rates were super low this
Right.
time last year, and we were trying to encourage more people to buy, and those people that bought are sitting happy.
Right.
Whereas the people that told us that wanted to wait, now we just really don't see that end in sight where we can see things going down with the prices because there's still so many people out there that want to buy.
So one of my favorite movies of all time is Groundhog Day. Like, I love, do you ever watch that movie?
I've seen it.
Oh my gosh.
Not my favorite.
It's amazing. And so anyways, but it's about the prediction that the groundhog makes. If he sees his shadow, it's more winter, less winter. I don't remember what the rule is, but in any event, they're relying upon a groundhog to predict the weather and whether summer will come or whether they'll get more weeks of winter. So anyways, in the real estate market, people expect me to be Punxsutawney Phil and say like, what's going to happen in the real estate market? I'm like, I have no idea. There is no see my shadow, not see my shadow. I just I live in the market as it is. And
Yeah.
I very much become obsessed with living in the present. However, as people look to forecast in the future, when I'm looking at these numbers, I don't see a crash. I don't see, I mean, the market was good last year when there were 7,900 homes on the market. Now there's almost half that number. The market's great. So in theory, we could double the number of homes on the market and it would still be a good market.
Yeah.
So when people go like, hey, when's the market gonna crash? I'm like, bro, I don't even know what it would take for it to happen outside of a natural disaster or calamity that would allow it to happen, because we have so much demand on properties. There's people coming largely from California, New York, other countries or other states, wanting to be here in Vegas, and they're willing to pay a price. The saddest part about all this is I feel like it puts the locals at a disadvantage. Because people coming from California go, wow, I can get a half acre with RV parking and a pool and a spa for $750. I'm in. Where people who've lived here forever go, $750, that's highway robbery. You know, so it's like this, it's a little bit of, the people coming from California don't have to adjust their mindset.
Right.
But if you're a homeowner trying to compete, you have to adjust your mindset and realize it's not 2010 anymore. We're not on the back end of a recession anymore. It's not 2000 anymore. Like, you have to compete with people coming from California that see that home and realize, man, that's a great deal.
Yeah.
So
I still think we are among one of the most affordable states in the United States to purchase a home.
Yeah.
So there is that. If you're watching this in another state, come let me know where you can get exactly what Joe just said. RV parking, half an acre with a swimming pool, gorgeous, you know, remodeled one story for under $1 million. And then you'll be like, I'm moving to Vegas. Yeah. But even with the locals, we are seeing a little less competition, because I think people are tired of getting beat out, because there are those, you know, a couple months ago, it was you had to have between $10,000 and $50,000 to compete. It seems like, to me, being out in the market, that is softening a little bit, and that is great for our locals and for the people that are coming in, that it's not going to be as crazy. And I also am happy to say that I have about a seller a week reaching out to list their house just to me alone.
So it's not necessarily that a ton more people are listing their homes. It's not necessarily that a ton less people are buying homes. There could be some people sitting on the sidelines. But Angie, how do you think the start of school affects it? Because I know you've always toyed, like, every once in a while a property comes up and you're like, maybe I'll sell and go to that one. With school starting, did that kind of squash that? Or do you think the buyers you've been talking to are like, well, let me get my kids in school and then I'll revisit it? Like, how do people approach home shopping when it comes to school starting?
You know, that's a good point, because I think that during the summer, real estate is always super hot, because everybody has more time. They're thinking, should I move school districts? You know, and that also affects the other people buying. We always tell people are going where the good schools are, you know, so maybe now I think there's always a little bit of a lull so that everybody can get situated. And there's lots of folks that will change their kids' school if they find a house that they love for a great deal. I think I would do that if I found a house that I love for a great deal. But right now, it may be a great time, because, you know, the last offer that I put in, there wasn't any competition. And I actually toyed around with the numbers, because typically, just to start, I went $5,000 over that list price, and now I went back and said, what about if we built those closing costs in that $5,000? And they said yes.
They accepted it, yeah.
So that's great news.
So looking at days on market now, the numbers, they're like month end July. So we're 13 days into August. So when we do these market reports, we're actually reviewing the previous published statistics. So right now we're at an average of 10 days on market. When you look back at August or end of July of 2020, we were at 25 days on market. So we're down 60% in 1 year of average days on market, which is huge. I mean, that isn't even as much an issue of supply, it's just purely an issue of demand. So buyers have come in droves. If we go to showings to pending property over the course of a listing process until it sells is about 8.3, which is up a lot, but we really can't put a lot of statistics or like analytics into that because it's showing time, which is really gaining popularity. It's an app we use to request to see a property. But just so you know, the current number of showings you get before you sell is 8.3. So how long do you have to put your underwear away? 8.3 showings. How long do you have to Wipe down the shower when you're done,
Right.
8.3 showings.
How long do you have to clean up the kitchen?
How long do you have to put a shirt on if you're a dude sitting around watching football? 8.3 showings.
Now, Joe, would you say, because I would say about 50% of agents use showing time, so maybe that number is
So
more
maybe-
like 16?
That seems high, but it could be.
Yeah.
It could be. I think they're trying to get a grip on that number
Yeah,
as best they
yeah.
can. I know the last few times I've shown properties, it was all ran through showing time.
Yeah.
So I think that number will become more and
Could
more
be
reliable.
accurate. But if a house is fantastic, though, it's very easy for them to have 10 showings
Yeah.
in the same day.
It's true.
You know, if it's totally remodeled with all the goodies and the nice granite and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Last but not least, let's talk about price per square foot average. So this is all homes.
Oh, I'm guessing right now in my head.
What do you think?
Price per square foot average, I'm gonna say $215.
Very close, 202. So this
high.
number changes a little bit. If you go 3 homes, 350 and over, you're much closer. It's $2 or $213 per square foot.
Wow.
So, quick little tale. Shout out to Chip and Joanna, the Property Brothers in Flipping Vegas, and everybody else who's helped us in this. When I first started selling real estate in 2001, story time with Uncle Joe. I first started selling real estate in 2001. The upgrades someone put into a home didn't do much to affect its value. It was kind of crazy. Like you'd show 1,500 square feet. You had really nice wood floors, and at the time, granite countertops were everything, you know. And then you'd show another home, and they had laminate floor and Corian countertops. Well, what people really relied on was $100 a square foot was the number. Back in 2001 when I started, it was about $100 a square foot. So 150,000, 150,000. Now this one may sell for 150 because it's upgraded, and this one may sell for 145 because it's not. But people were not willing to pay for upgrades back then. Now, if you look, so the average is $213 a square foot. Now that means the unupgraded homes are probably selling for $150 to $175, and the remodeled homes are selling for $225 to $250. So then the average comes in right around $213. But the cool thing is if you're thinking about making upgrades to your home, people will pay.
Yeah.
And that's something that when I started selling real estate 20 years ago, people would not pay for somebody else's upgrades. Now, if I went to list a home this morning and it's a home that hasn't been touched really since 2005. And I told them like, hey, just so you know, there's 2 things to consider. Number 1, nobody will pay for your upgrades. And number 2, you now cannot do it yourself and get your money back because it was a $525,000 list price. It would take $40,000 to list it at $550. So it was like they couldn't just remodel the house right now and then sell it. But then the question was, well, how do home flippers do it? And I told him right then, I said, well, here's how I would do it. If you will sell me this home for $400, I'll put $40,000 into it. I'll be into it for $440. Now I'll sell it for $550 and make a ton of money. The other thing I may do though is if you sell me that home for $400, I may just sell it for $525 right away and put 0 into it because it's like people just won't pay for upgrades. So that's just something to consider as we talk about price per square foot. You can't just run a math equation and go, Bob, our house is 3,000 square feet. We can sell for $639,000. It just doesn't really work that way.
Right.
Because a lot of it comes down to what are the ancillary aspects of your property. Do you have
Right.
RV parking? Do you have a swimming pool? Do you have a large lot? Are you in a desirable neighborhood? Are you upgraded? All those things go into, so when Angie shows up to list your home, she's gonna take all those factors into account. This is what for sale by owners don't understand. Interesting statistic, we're gonna do a video about it. Only 11% of for sale by owners ever sell without an agent.
Really?
Yeah, but it's because they don't price themselves right, they don't know how to market. No offense to anyone who's done it before, you may be the one guy that did it, you may say, Joe's full of crap. But the reality is, statistically speaking, only 11% of people who start as a for sale by owner end as a for sale by owner. And it's because they don't price right, they overprice their home and no one comes and sees it. You know, so there's so many things involved in it. Working with a professional to say, hey, I know you wanted to get 700, I think we could get 725. Or I know you wanted to get 700, keep in mind that 700 is with a pool, with RV parking, upgraded. You don't have any of those 3, so we probably need to be a little bit more conservative. And a real estate professional will help you understand it. So
True that.
those are the numbers. Now let's move into everybody's favorite aspect of 30 seconds of advice. Let's get a little bit more creative. I'm gonna like this one. 30 seconds of advice to a spouse trying to talk, she's not prepared at all. A spouse trying to talk a spouse into moving. Like a husband trying to talk his wife into getting a bigger backyard. A wife trying to talk her husband into a different school district. 30 seconds of advice. Let's get the clock ready.
I'm trying to do this very thing right now.
Okay, well then you're perfectly suited for this. What advice do you have for a spouse trying to get a spouse to move their home for whatever reason it is in 30 seconds? What is your advice for those individuals? Ready, set, go.
Tell your significant other that they can have the automobile or motorcycle of their choice. Just kidding. Or they can have an RV. Just kidding. You should tell your significant other that you can sell your current home for more than you possibly could ever at this point in time. You can take that equity out and either get a larger home or downgrade and get a smaller home because that's what you need, and then you can spend more money upgrading the house that you could get for a great deal, or you could take more trips. This is terrible. This is a terrible thing.
So these are all the things she's trying with her husband. Like, you could get a motorcycle, we could take more trips, we could upgrade our new home.
We literally had this conversation this morning.
I bet.
He was like, I want to buy this vintage Mercedes, and I was like, no way, unless we get a house that has more garage bays that you can put these cars in. I'm not having them sit in my driveway.
We've been trying to talk Angie into moving out by us for a long time. All right. So give me a topic, 30 seconds. You could toss anything out.
So, Joe, actually, on one of our last market updates, my mom was saying she was very interested in what you think needs to be put into the house yearly or quarterly to make it worth more, and so that you don't end up with a completely dated house. So that's what I think you should
Let's do it.
take.
30 seconds. On your mark, get set, go. All right. It is very important that you do little projects every single year to keep your home up to date. I think you need to turn your home design over every decade. So if you take a project every year or two, start with the kitchen, move to the master bedroom, move to the backyard, move to the front yard, move to the paint of the house, move to the paint to the inside, move to flooring. If you are always doing a project, by the time, if you do kitchen year 1 and kitchen year 10, your home will always be up to date. So that way you don't have to take off a huge chunk of money and upgrade it all at one time.
That was awesome, because that's what people need to know. And you know what else? Maybe for next time, you need to tell people, like, because a lot of people don't know, how much would it cost me to put in that flooring?
Yeah.
How much would it cost me to paint the cabinets? Those little things that make the house worth more without having to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
People want to know that stuff.
People helping people.
People want to know. And you know what? You have a beautiful home that you are constantly updating,
Constantly
right?
updating, which reminds me,
big.
shout out to Mia Sposa.
Oh, I thought
She
you-
let me put a golf simulator in my office, and not a closed off office that no one could see. Like right as you walk in the front door of our house on the left is now a golf simulator. And she's a real G for doing
Good job, Jenny.
Yeah,
Good job.
she's awesome.
Okay.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. If you ever have any suggestions, down at the bottom, just say, hey, talk about this, and we will do so. For those of you who hop on our YouTube channel and put links to naughty videos, we always delete them, so don't even try it. But we always, it happens.
People do that?
Yes, I hate
No.
it. But we
Put
always
links to your
appreciate
homes.
feedback.
We can tell you what to do with your home, what to
Exactly.
paint for the cabinets, where to buy your flooring. Put links like that.
We're all about attractive houses.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Never mind. See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Ow, 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 ow.